Now I, like many of you, know that bad habits are hard to break. But for those still declaring smaller packagings of dangerous goods as marine pollutants, it's time for an intervention. It's not been a requirement to declare, mark or placard marine pollutants in packagings of 5 kilograms or 5 litres or less since they changed the rules way back in Amendment 37. This applies to both goods where the marine pollutant hazard is the secondary or subsidiary hazard, as well as goods where the marine pollutant hazard is the only hazard. Where the marine pollutant hazard is the only hazard, so the goods are assigned to UN 3082 or UN 3077, these do not need to be shipped as dangerous goods when in packagings of 5 litres or 5 kilograms or less. There are some caveats to that with regards to packaging, but these are pretty basic requirements. They don't need UN packaging, but the packaging does have to meet a decent standard as outlined in the regulations. Yet for some reason, one of the questions we get asked the most on our help desk and online is about these provisions. I think because you had to declare marine pollutants for so long, even when packed as limited quantities, people just feel uncomfortable going so far the other way and effectively ignoring the hazard. It kind of goes against the principles you're probably taught when you learn about dangerous goods. Well, the rules are being rewritten in Amendment 42 of the IMDG Code, and hopefully this will make it easier to understand. There's updated text at 2.10.2.7 to state that this hazard does not apply below 5 litres or 5 kilograms. This means that if the goods belong to a particular class and they are also a marine pollutant, then the marine pollutant hazard doesn't apply, but the primary hazard still does. So as an example, if you have goods of class 3, which are also a marine pollutant, you don't have to declare them as a marine pollutant in those smaller packagings, but you still have to declare them as dangerous goods as they are still flammable. For goods where the marine pollutant hazard is the only hazard, so they are assigned to UN 3082 or UN 3077, a new special provision, 375, is inserted for UN 3082 and UN 3077, just like in ADR. This means that these UN numbers are now exempted by Special Provision 375 in packagings of 5 kilograms or 5 litres or less. That's 5 kilograms for solids and 5 litres for liquids. Because the marine pollutant hazard is the only hazard, and they are in small packagings. Just don't forget to comply with everything it says in that special provision with regards to packaging. The references might look horrendous, but trust me, it's basic stuff. And again, this is nothing new. It's just a new way of presenting the information. Looking at how this exemption works in other regulations, it works in the same way in ADR, although in ADR we call these substances environmentally hazardous instead of marine pollutant, and the classification provisions are different in that there are no default marine pollutant classifications. You can also find the same provision for UN 3082 and UN 3077 in IATA at A197. 49 CFR doesn't adopt the UN classification criteria for marine pollutants and environmentally hazardous substances in the same way as ADR and the IMDG Code does. So if you're more used to the way the rules work in the UN regs, be careful when interpreting 49 CFR. Regardless of this, the same text as given in Special Provision 375 and at 2.10.2.7 of the IMDG Code is reproduced in 49 CFR at subsection 171.4c, paragraph 2, in relation to marine pollutants, and that's quite an important point. This means that the marine pollutant hazard effectively doesn't apply at 5 litres or 5 kilograms or below, and if the marine pollutant hazard is the only hazard, then the goods will be exempt. 49 CFR also recognises the IMDG Code as an international standard. So if you're obeying the rules of the IMDG code, that's fine internationally. My advice is to ensure consistency. If you're taking advantage of these relaxations, do not declare the goods as marine pollutant or environmentally hazardous. If you don't declare the goods as a marine pollutant, do not mark them as a marine pollutant or apply the marine pollutant mark as a placard, unless required for other goods in the shipment. For UN 3077 and UN 3082, you'll see in columns 7A and 7B of the dangerous goods list that these entries can be shipped as limited or accepted quantities. There are very few instances when you need to do this, and the only ones I can think of relate to classification as these UN numbers, for some other reason, such as a hazardous material via 49 CFR, not by the UN regs which would exempt them via Special Provision 375. So unless you're doing so to comply with 49 CFR, again, ensure consistency. You don't need to ship UN 3077 or UN 3082 as LQ or EQ when you can exempt them via Special Provision 375 instead. We've put full references below this video and at the end. If you're interested in learning more about the shipment and transport of dangerous goods by sea, we have a range of e-learning courses available, all updated to the latest amendment of the IMDG Code and other changes. And here, as promised, just in case I haven't been crystal clear, are some further references and examples. The references we've given in the IMDG Code are the Amendment 42 references. But these provisions apply regardless. There's no change as such, just a new way of presenting it. And so they're just now referenced differently. So there's no implementation date that you need to worry about. We've also popped links below this video to the relevant paragraphs in ADR and in 49 CFR.